opens with Judge Judy welcoming a packed courtroom for another day of small claims disputes. She reminds everyone waiting outside that the court is not interested in excuses or emotional speeches. Instead, she wants documents, witnesses, receipts, contracts, photographs, and facts. That brief introduction sets the tone for an episode filled with disagreements involving family members, business partners, neighbors, former friends, and customers who all failed to protect themselves with clear written agreements. The first case, the plaintiff claims she invested nearly $20,000 to purchase inventory, lease warehouse space, build a professional website, and advertise through social media. According to her testimony, both parties agreed they would own the company equally and divide all profits. Business records show the company performed well during its first year. Sales steadily increased, customer reviews remained positive, and expansion plans were already being discussed. Problems allegedly began after the defendant opened a separate business bank account without informing the plaintiff. The plaintiff claims customer payments slowly disappeared from the original company account. The defendant insists the new account was created simply to simplify bookkeeping. Judge Judy immediately requests banking records covering the previous 18 months. She carefully compares deposits, withdrawals, invoices, and customer payments. Several transfers appear to move company money directly into the defendant's personal account. When questioned about those transfers, the defendant struggles to provide convincing explanations. Judge Judy reminds both parties that partnerships require honesty and transparency. After reviewing financial records and ownership evidence, she awards substantial compensation to the plaintiff. The second dispute concerns a homeowner suing a contractor hired to renovate an aging basement into a finished entertainment area. The plaintiff claims he paid nearly $30,000 for waterproofing, flooring, electrical work, drywall installation, lighting, and a custom entertainment center. Only 6 months after construction ended, heavy rainfall allegedly caused water to enter the basement, damaging flooring and newly installed drywall. The contractor argues that groundwater problems existed before the renovation and were unrelated to his work. Judge Judy reviews engineering reports, inspection documents, construction contracts, photographs, invoices, and expert testimony. Independent inspectors conclude that waterproof membranes were installed incorrectly in several locations. Drainage systems also failed to meet recommended standards. The contractor attempts to argue that unusually severe weather caused the damage. Judge Judy responds that quality construction should anticipate ordinary weather conditions. Compensation is awarded for repair costs and related damages. The third case involves two sisters arguing over ownership of valuable family jewelry inherited from their grandmother. The plaintiff claims several antique necklaces, bracelets, and rings disappeared after the estate was settled. She alleges the defendant secretly sold portions of the collection without permission. The defendant argues she believed the jewelry belonged exclusively to her because she cared for their grandmother during her final years. Judge Judy reviews probate records, family correspondence, photographs, insurance appraisals, and witness testimony. Evidence establishes that the collection was intended to be divided equally among both sisters. Although the defendant devoted considerable time caring for their grandmother, Judge Judy explains that caregiving alone does not rewrite legal ownership. Compensation is awarded reflecting the plaintiff's share of the missing jewelry. The fourth dispute involves a customer suing a luxury automobile restoration shop. The plaintiff claims he delivered a rare vintage sports car for complete restoration. The project was originally estimated to require 12 months. Nearly 4 years later, the vehicle allegedly remains unfinished despite repeated promises that completion was only weeks away. The restoration shop argues that worldwide shortages of replacement parts created unavoidable delays. Judge Judy reviews contracts, invoices, restoration photographs, supplier correspondence, and payment records. While certain delays appear understandable, evidence demonstrates repeated, unrealistic completion promises. Judge Judy explains that customers deserve honesty rather than endless optimism unsupported by facts. A substantial portion of the restoration payments is ordered returned until work is properly completed. Following a short recess, The courtroom hears a dispute involving a freelance software engineer and a regional medical clinic. The engineer claims he developed custom patient scheduling software, appointment reminders, online registration systems, and billing integration tools. Despite using the software daily for more than a year, the clinic allegedly refused to pay the final invoice totaling several $1,000s. Clinic administrators argue additional programming became necessary after implementation. Judge Judy reviews contracts, invoices, emails, software demonstrations, maintenance logs, and testimony from employees using the system. Evidence establishes that thousands of appointments were successfully processed through the software. The 6 dispute centers on neighbors arguing over an extensive landscaping project. The plaintiff claims excavation performed on the defendant's property redirected stormwater toward her backyard, causing flooding, erosion, damaged fencing, and destruction of expensive ornamental gardens. The defendant insists unusually heavy rainfall caused the damage. Judge Judy reviews engineering reports, contractor testimony, satellite photographs, drainage studies, repair estimates, and city inspection reports. Independent evaluations conclude that the landscaping modifications significantly altered natural drainage patterns. Judge Judy explains that property owners have a responsibility to consider how improvements affect neighboring land. Compensation is awarded for documented losses. The 7th case becomes one of the most memorable disputes of the day. A collector of rare movie costumes sues a former friend after several valuable costumes allegedly disappeared during a film memorabilia convention. The plaintiff claims the costumes were loaned only for exhibition purposes. The defendant argues that unknown individuals attending the convention may have stolen them. Judge Judy reviews security footage, insurance appraisals, event records, witness testimony, transportation receipts, and communications exchanged before the convention. Evidence establishes that the defendant voluntarily accepted responsibility for transporting and safeguarding the collection. Judge Judy explains that borrowing valuable property creates legal responsibilities regardless of whether the eventual loss results from negligence or theft. Compensation is awarded according to professional appraisal values. The final dispute involves a couple whose engagement ended only weeks before an expensive destination wedding. The plaintiff claims she personally paid deposits covering flights, luxury hotel accommodations, catering, musicians, floral arrangements, transportation services, photography packages, and reception facilities after both parties agreed to divide the expenses equally. The defendant argues many purchases exceeded their agreed budget and therefore should not become his financial responsibility. Judge Judy reviews contracts, invoices, reservation confirmations, cancellation policies, bank transfers, and months of text messages exchanged throughout the planning process. Numerous conversations clearly show the defendant approving many of the disputed expenditures before the relationship ended. While certain unsupported claims are rejected, Judge Judy concludes that reimbursement is appropriate for documented financial obligations previously accepted by both parties. As the fictional episode 168 draws to a close, Judge Judy reflects on the lesson connecting every dispute heard throughout the day. Whether dealing with business partnerships, construction projects, inherited property, professional services, or personal relationships, nearly every conflict could have been reduced or avoided entirely through better documentation and clearer communication. She reminds viewers that written agreements are not signs of distrust, but practical safeguards that protect everyone involved. Accurate records preserve facts long after memories fade. Honest communication prevents misunderstandings before they become lawsuits. Personal accountability remains the foundation of every successful financial relationship. The litigants leave the courtroom carrying judgments, financial obligations, and valuable lessons about responsibility. Some depart relieved, others frustrated, but every participant has experienced another unforgettable day inside Judge Judy's courtroom. As the audience rises in applause and Judge Judy exits the bench, another dramatic chapter of fictional small claims justice comes to an continues. Judge Judy returns from reason. If your case depends on what you think happened instead of what you can prove happened, you're already in trouble. The audience laughs softly, but the reminder quickly becomes relevant as another series of complicated disputes unfolds. The first case involves a dispute between a woman and her former financial advisor. The plaintiff claims she hired the defendant to help manage savings intended for the purchase of a home. According to months later, she discovered significant losses and claims important risks had never been explained. The defendant argues that every investment carries some degree of uncertainty and insists the plaintiff signed disclosure documents acknowledging those risks. Judge Judy carefully reviews investment agreements, disclosure forms, account statements, email correspondence, and handwritten meeting notes. While the documents confirm that disclosures were provided, several emails suggest the defendant repeatedly described the investments as virtually risk-free. Judge Judy immediately questions that language. She explains that professionals have a responsibility to describe financial products accurately rather than making unrealistic promises. After reviewing all of the evidence, she awards partial compensation for losses directly connected to misleading representations. The second dispute concerns two neighbors arguing over the construction of a detached garage. The plaintiff claims heavy construction equipment repeatedly crossed onto his property, damaging landscaping, underground irrigation lines, and decorative stone pathways. The defendant insists the contractors remained entirely on his own property. Judge Judy reviews property surveys, contractor records, photographs, drone images, and testimony from workers involved in the project. Survey maps clearly establish that portions of the construction equipment entered the plaintiff's property on multiple occasions. The judge reminds the defendant that property improvements should never come at a neighbor's expense. Compensation is awarded for documented repair costs. The third case involves a dispute between two cousins over a valuable baseball memorabilia collection inherited from their grandfather. The plaintiff claims dozens of signed baseballs, jerseys, and photographs disappeared after the defendant volunteered to organize the collection. The defendant argues that several items were sold only after obtaining verbal permission. Judge Judy requests written evidence supporting that claim. None exists. Instead, emails exchanged between family members repeatedly discuss preserving the collection rather than selling it. Professional appraisals establish substantial value for the missing items. Judge Judy concludes that the plaintiff has proven shared ownership and awards compensation accordingly. The fourth dispute involves a homeowner suing a luxury kitchen remodeling company. The plaintiff claims she paid nearly $50,000 for custom cabinetry, imported countertops, premium appliances, and specialized lighting. According to her testimony, the project was delayed for almost a year and numerous installation defects remained unresolved. The remodeling company argues that worldwide supply shortages created unavoidable delays. Judge Judy reviews construction contracts, supplier invoices, inspection reports, photographs, and correspondence. Independent inspections identify several installation problems unrelated to supply delays. Judge Judy explains that unexpected delays may be unavoidable, but poor workmanship is not. Partial compensation is awarded based on documented repair estimates. Following another brief recess, the courtroom hears a dispute involving a freelance software security consultant and a regional accounting firm. The consultant claims he performed extensive cybersecurity upgrades, vulnerability testing, employee training, and network monitoring services. Despite implementing the recommendations and continuing to use them, the accounting firm allegedly refused to pay the final invoice. Firm representatives argue additional work became necessary after implementation. Judge Judy reviews contracts, invoices, emails, technical reports, and testimony from employees responsible for maintaining the network. Evidence confirms that the consultant completed the services described in the agreement. Judge Judy notes that clients cannot simply decide not to pay after accepting the benefits of professional work. Judgment is entered in favor of the consultant. The sixth dispute centers on damage allegedly caused by a large backyard excavation project. The plaintiff claims construction activities destabilized soil beneath her fence, resulting in erosion, cracked walkways, and damage to an outdoor storage building. The defendant argues that unusually heavy rainfall should bear the blame. Engineering reports, contractor testimony, photographs, and municipal inspection records are carefully reviewed. Independent experts conclude that excavation significantly altered the property's drainage characteristics. Judge Judy awards compensation for documented structural repairs. The seventh case becomes one of the day's most entertaining disputes. A collector of rare vintage jukeboxes sues a longtime friend after one machine allegedly suffered extensive damage while being transported to a music festival. The defendant insists the transportation company caused the damage. Judge Judy reviews shipping contracts, photographs, insurance records, witness testimony, and inspection reports. Evidence establishes that the defendant personally supervised loading and failed to secure the machine properly inside the trailer. Judge Judy explains that responsibility cannot simply be transferred whenever something goes wrong. Compensation is awarded according to restoration estimates. The final dispute involves two former business partners who operated a successful landscaping company. The plaintiff claims she invested substantial capital to purchase commercial equipment, trucks, trailers, and advertising while the defendant handled daily operations. According to her testimony, business income gradually became impossible to verify after the defendant opened additional financial accounts. The defendant argues every dollar was used for legitimate business expenses. Judge Judy requests complete accounting records. Several transactions cannot be adequately explained. Bank statements reveal multiple transfers from company accounts directly into personal accounts with little supporting documentation. Judge Judy reminds both parties that partnerships require complete financial transparency. After carefully reviewing the records, she awards compensation based on the plaintiff's documented ownership, interest, and investment. As this extended portion of the fictional episode 168 concludes, Judge Judy reflects on another lesson repeatedly demonstrated throughout the day's proceedings. Whether dealing with investments, construction projects, inherited collections, professional services, transportation, or business partnerships, nearly every dispute shared one common problem. People relied on trust where documentation should have existed. She reminds viewers that written agreements, organized records, honest communication, and personal accountability remain the strongest protection against expensive legal disputes. Relationships may change, memories may fade, but properly documented facts remain reliable. The litigants leave the courtroom with judgments, financial obligations, and valuable lessons learned through experience. Some leave relieved, others disappointed, but everyone leaves with a clearer understanding that preparation is almost always less expensive than litigation. As the audience applauds and Judge Judy exits the courtroom once again, the fictional episode 168 continues toward its conclusion with another memorable day of small claims justice.